So welcome everybody to Mandala Theatre Company's panel discussions. This one is looking at connection, creative education and empathy. I'm Yasmin Sidhwa, I'm the artistic director, and I'm joined by four inspiring and creative young people who have been part of Mandala Young Company during the last 5 years and who are all passionate about theatre and have a desire to tell stories and to make a difference to humanity. So I'm really happy that they're joining me today and joining you. So I'm just going to ask each of you to introduce yourselves, say a little bit about who you are and how you got into the arts and theatre. So I've lost Ildi, who I was going to come to first. So Ildi, are you ready to answer this one? You've just appeared at the right time.
Perfect. I think this was meant to be. So hi, everybody. I'm Ildi. I'm Ildi Nagy, and I'm actually joining you guys today from Budapest, Hungary, because I happen to live there now. And when I joined Mandala, that was back in 2017. And this was probably the most inspiring drama experience that I had in my life. I actually started to do performance more from the musical side. I was one of those kids who grew up with music. I did so many competitions, studied a lot of classical music and instruments and everything. And actually drama and theater itself was something that I think my mother shielded me from. The theater experience in Central Eastern Europe, where I am from, it's like the culture is very different. Anyway, so I think my mom was a bit scared that I might be ruined by theater or something. So I only started to do proper theater when I was in my late teenage years and when I was at uni. And I did mostly improvisation theater because I felt that I'm more comfortable with comedy, for example. And I also did musicals because that was something that just felt very comfortable and very natural. And when I moved to the UK for the third time after working and studying there, that was in Oxford. And I felt an insane amount of pressure about just fitting in and finding my place. And what better way is there to do that than through theater? So this is what I did, and this is where I met Yasmin back at the Modern Art Museum in Oxford. So we did various projects together, and I did other drama courses as well. And I joined the company in 2018, which was, I don't know, probably one of the best experiences of my whole life. So, and since then I work in content development, mostly nonfiction. So I work for festivals, I work for TV channels, and I try to be storyteller in everything I do.
Brilliant, Ildi. And yeah, that's what's so wonderful, that knowing that you're there in Hungary, and Kasia going to talk about where she is, it's amazing to just, you know, have such a mix of young people on the panels. It's joyous, and that we all belong with each other. So I'm coming to you next, Kasia.
Hiya, I'm Kasia. I'm 20 years old. I was born and raised in Oxford. However, my dad is Jamaican and my mum's half Indian. I've been acting and dancing since I was really, really young. I don't even know. I think at first it was something I was maybe pushed into a little bit because all of my family are involved in the arts. But as I got older, it was something that I needed to do for myself, to be creative, to be passionate about what I was doing. It was really important. I've been a member of Mandala Mandala Youth Company since 2015. However, now I'm living in Germany and I'm studying physical theatre at the Universität der Künste, or the University of the Arts, in Essen.
From Germany. So you're there right across the other side of Europe as well. And it's brilliant that's the one brilliant thing about being able to do the panel discussion online, that I can get you and Ildi there and Alex and Lewis, and we can have this discussion and, you know, look at the fact that how you're studying there in physical theatre. So I'm coming to you next, Alex.
Hi, I'm Alex. I'm also born and raised in and around Oxford. My mum is Scottish and my dad is originally from Zimbabwe. So I've got a nice mix of cultures at home. My pathway into the arts started very young. I think I was about 6 or 7, and it was at Pegasus Theatre. And yeah, I remember my first show also being with Akasha. She was in a different group. We started at the same time, and I did at least a show a year there, all the way through until I was 17, where I had 3 years working with Yaz at the Pegasus Youth Theatre. And then after that, I helped with Mandala, joined Mandala. I remember auditioning for Nightlight in Oxford, which was fantastic fun. Was not ready for the part. Knew that going in, knew that coming out, but it was still a load of fun. And since then, I've done several Mandala Youth Company productions, which have been just amazing. I've generally some of the best shows I've done have been with Mandala Youth Company.
Well, this, I just feel so touched that I've known you, some of you, since you were tiny, and seen how you've grown and how much theatre's meant to you, and the fact that you're studying it, and Kasha's studying it, and not that everybody needs to, because what you're using your skills, Ildi, storytelling within creative industries is really important. So yeah, it's amazing that it goes so deep, these connections. I think that's what I feel really strongly. Coming to you, last but by no means least, Lewis, coming to you.
Hi, I'm Lewis. I'm 22 years old and I'm living in Oxford. I was born in Angola. My dad is from Angola and my mum is from Kenya. My pathway into theatre was through dance in secondary school, and it's when we used to do inter-house competitions, and it was a dance competition. And I was asked to be in it. I was kind of hesitant at first because I wasn't really confident when I was that age, and so I agreed to do it. And doing it just made me more confident because you're building each other up together to perform. And I remember that first time I performed in front of an audience, it was, even though I was nervous, I was excited and I loved it. And I just loved that feeling of it. Then from that, the next year I was asked to be in a drama competition for which I had no skill of it. So I was kind of hesitant again, but I agreed. And they made me the lead character for some reason, even though I had no background in acting. But I agreed, and through it, everybody who had some skill in acting helped me through it. And just doing that, just bonding with everybody and like building each other up so you can improve your skills. It was amazing. And again, performing it is it's a different type of feeling that you don't really get with other subjects. It's you're nervous but excited, and I just loved it. And from there, I just fell in love with theatre. And actually, you was one of the judges in our competitions, and from there you invited me to come and audition for one of your plays. But I didn't get it because, well, I wasn't experienced enough, I would say, but I didn't let that get me down, and I just kept going, and now I'm here. And I did my first show with Mandala Young Company last year, and it was amazing. One of the best experiences I've ever had in my life. But yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I remember being the judge at your school, and your school was very much into the arts, and it was watching you, and Nelvin also joined from your school, joined Mandala Young Company, and just being able to bring you in and bring us together. And you've all talked a lot about how it's given you a bond and a connection, and we're going to come on to that, about what theatre and creativity does for each other. So Akasha, I'm coming to you with the next question, which is about why is creativity, drama, the arts so crucial to education, and what can it offer that other subjects or other things don't offer people? So
for me, the arts in schools, in education settings, is the most important subject that there is. There's so many ways that you can express yourself, and I think I was really lucky that when I was still at school, I did get the opportunity to do dance and drama, and that I was able to do them at GCSE level, and they still had them for A levels as well. And I've seen how now they're reducing these subjects more and more, and the schools and the government don't see the point in funding them, which makes no sense to me because, for example, I never felt very academically intelligent. I never felt like very confident in passing written exams in English or maths, for example. And I think that through the arts, I realized that there's other intelligence, that being creative is just as intelligent. Being able to, for example, work for weeks on a performance, devising pieces, creative writing, I don't know, baking, drawing a picture, those are all different forms of creativity. So it's so important that the government, the schools, put the effort into keeping these subjects alive, because that's where other people thrive, and that's where they get their confidence from. So yeah.
Absolutely. You know, why is everything, you know, given a credence? Because if you can be academic, not putting down academia, but actually what you said, creative intelligence is needed in every industry, in every job, and definitely in life. So
Yeah.
absolutely, I agree with you. Alex, your thoughts about this?
Yeah, so I was very fortunate in my state school. We had a very strong grasp on the arts we were originally a visual and performing arts specialist school, which meant that we had the ability to have drama and dance classes at least once a week for each subject, art, music, all very strongly as part of my education from year 7, and then having taken it for GCSE and then A level as well, I had drama all the way through my time. But not just in the arts classes where we looking at as the arts as part of our education, because for me there's so many uses for the arts across the subjects. Even looking at things like English and we study Shakespeare. When at my school we would watch small productions, like videos of them or act scenes out. But the one that really gets me is we did cross-curricular trips. And the one that always stands out for me was dance, media, and geography. And we went to Lulworth Cove in Dorset, where we looked at the geography of how the cove was made and erosion. But then we also spent a good time on the beach, listening to the sounds and creating a choreographed dance piece and film. And you just don't get those opportunities without the arts. And I think it's just so important to have the opportunities to have an outlet for your creativity.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, you've said it, that those teachers of yours were really able to think laterally, to go, these subjects can work together and they can enhance each other and they can make what we're learning better for everyone, because they had that ability to think like that. And I don't understand why. Well, I do. It's because people have to pass exams in such a way, but it just seems crazy to me that it's not something that is done all the time in schools. Lewis, coming to you.
Yeah, drama for me, and I feel like for everyone, is such a great subject because it improves the confidence. And for me, I feel like confidence is such a big thing for people to have, because it helps you put yourself out there, and that's the thing that I feel like everybody needs just in life in general, because you take more opportunities than you would if you don't have that confidence in yourself. And not only that, I feel like drama, like PE exercises your body, but I feel like drama exercises your mind in a way that academics doesn't. So I feel like it's important to not just do academics and like PE. You gotta find your creative side, and I feel like that's important as well as the other subjects. And as I said, and I can't stress this enough, I feel like confidence is such a big thing, especially for kids around the age in secondary school to have, because that's when you're going through those times where you don't really have confidence and you struggle to voice your opinion. And drama gives you that.
Absolutely. I mean, you've said two things, you know, through theatre, through drama, you say yes. rather than know. You know what fear is, but you know that if you overcome fear, the rewards you get from being in performance and getting audience interaction. And also, yeah, confidence, the confidence to say what you feel, and that whatever you say is worthwhile and valid. So yeah, hugely important. Ildia, what was it like for you?
Okay, well, first of all, I'm just amazed by listening to you all because, sad truth, I had no drama at school. None, zero, nothing. Unfortunately, in Hungary and many neighboring countries, drama is not part of the curriculum. So there is a big emphasis on poetry and literature, and it's really, really important to learn it. But like around us, and this is what happens with, countries that are on the periphery, that we learn a lot about culture. So I'm very, very grateful for my teachers because I read everything from Russian literature to all the English classics and Japanese, in certain cases. So for us, it's a very different experience. And I'm not entirely sure why that is, but also the emphasis on, being confident, for example, is not necessarily in the curriculum, whether that's because of, a place like the UK is more of an individualistic culture, while for us it has a collectivist nature. And the more east you go, the more that happens. But definitely it was a different experience for me growing up. But in terms of why I think it was a big, if I can use these strong words, it was a big mistake not to have drama at school, was I always felt personally that there are certain emotions, certain scenarios, and just everything that happens with you when you're young and when you're growing up and the whole coming of age journey. There is no way to express those feelings. There is no way to work those through. There are no scenarios. There are no workshops or anything where you can just express those feelings. And there are certain setups when you can practice on how to answer a certain situation and how to, the other thing that I was thinking while listening to you all, as I mentioned previously, that I work in storytelling and I have some background in corporate communication even, and I see it day by day, all the money that's being spent, and that's true all around the world, on communication workshops, self-confidence workshops, how to work in a group. This is all in theater. It's all there. You can all exercise it. And the funny thing is, it's very, very often happens that theater people are the ones who are coming in to the offices and help people to grow confident in presenting their work, for example. So I found that sometimes hilarious about how we forget about the power of drama in that sense, in a very practical way. And just another point about emotional intelligence and self-discovery. I think it's crucial when you're growing up, no matter what age is it, to be fair, but especially for young people, it's crucial that they have that guidance and help that they can get when they are just figuring out who they are and who they want to be. So that's a very important time. And I also feel that the learning experience that these days people are trying to enhance all the time, whether we look at online content, whether we look at just the simple things as Netflix, a lot of things are based around imprints. They are trying to make the festivals more interactive. They are trying to make the experiences more interactive, while the clues and the keys are all in drama education already. So I feel that it's just an invaluable experience to learn drama at every age, but especially in school.
Well, you've really hit the nail on the head. I mean, absolutely. Companies nowadays, like you say, are looking for all of those skills that we know we've learnt through drama. Like you say, teamwork, being able to speak and communicate, not being afraid, and having that self-belief. And yeah, so much that you've all said, and we don't need convincing, but there's something about all of us talking about this in terms of education right now, because I really worry about the young people feeling like theatre is for them. Because if it's not in your school, and you come from not an independent school where they seem to invest a lot in theatre and the arts, where they seem to prioritise it, if you take it out of state education, how are those young people going to know that it's for them and it's not elitist. And how are they going to feel like they can go to the theatre when so often it's so overpriced? So I've talked about that in another debate, so I won't go on about that, but it's brilliant to hear you saying what it means, whether you've had that drama education from a young age or whether you see it now. So I'm going to come on to the next question, which is about Mandala Young Company. And some of you have sort of hinted about that, talked about that a little bit. But yeah, I just want to ask you, what opportunities has Mandala Young Company given you and how has it affected you in your life? So coming to you, Alex, with that one first.
Yeah, I mean, the impact that Mandala has had on my life has been just unbelievable. Thinking back to the first show that I did with you, which was for a conference at Oxford University, and then doing the Mandala training, where I learned so much about my process as an actor, where I'm now studying acting at university, and the skills that I picked up from Mandala training, I'm still using in every piece that I do, whether it's a devised piece, whether it's a monologue, whatever. I still do those same processes. And then going from that to working on shows like Night Lights and Collector of Tears, which Collector of Tears is probably to this day my favorite show I've ever done. It was so emotionally satisfying to be a part of, because we told stories, we told truths, and we told universal stories. And then going from that, taking it to the Rencontre in Grenoble, which was amazing, and then from there being invited to go to Heidelberg in Germany and experiencing those different cultures and the way that theatre is accepted and, I guess, understood in different cultures was just unbelievable. The feedback we got in Heidelberg in particular will always stay with me. Their intelligence and their emotional receptiveness to the pieces that we were performing, which had some very difficult themes attached to it. I don't think there are many other companies that are having those opportunities for their members.
Well, you know, obviously I'm really touched when, you know, because I haven't paid you to say that lovely thing. So it makes it all worthwhile. It makes me go, I'm doing what I'm meant to be doing. I'm doing something that I want to make a difference to young people's lives. So yeah, thank you, Alex. I'm coming to you next on this one, Lewis, and obviously you've only done one big sort of show with us, but yeah, how's it affected you?
Yeah, although I've only been with the company for 1 year, has impacted my life greatly, because going to Grenoble performing was amazing in itself. But I feel like that whole experience just taught me how different cultures are. Like having all the different cultures come together and speaking about all their different experiences was crazy. And like, for example, the people that came from Spain talking about how in Barcelona they were having troubles with housing and everything like that, and they were so passionate about it. Like the director, he was so passionate about it, and like I didn't know anything about like housing or anything like that, how it was how it was impacting the people there. And it's crazy, but like also it just shows how we all need to connect with each other's cultures and talk to each other, because even when we would talk about, because after some shows we would go to these little discussions and talk about the show, and there was one in particular that was quite controversial, and it really opened my eyes, because it was like they didn't really understand our point, because they didn't understand our like Black history and our Black culture and how we experience life, and they just didn't understand, and it was crazy. Like it's not their fault, because obviously they're probably just not taught it, but for us, because we experienced it, it's different. And so when we was trying to express it, they didn't really understand, but eventually like they started to understand how it was affecting us, and after they were coming up to us and saying, yeah, we're sorry, we didn't mean it like that. And it's important that doing these things and connecting with each other is a way to learn from each other, to learn and improve yourself and understanding other people.
Absolutely, and we're going to come on to that in the next panel discussion, thinking about connection and empathy. But yeah, you were in the one show where we had a group over from France working with us in Oxford to create the piece, and working with fire and theatre, which, you know, I absolutely love, and what that can do, and creating an outdoor show. So yeah, I mean, in terms of coming into Mandala Young Company, you certainly came to something very different. So thank you. Ildi, coming to you.
Okay, well, first of all of you said so many important things, and I agree with all of them. I would just like to join in on what we're going to talk about in the next panel discussion, I believe. This element of culture exchange, I truly believe, and I've been saying this to everybody who is willing to listen, that Mandala's strength lies in its diversity. And I'm the living example of that. Like, the fact that I've been accepted to be part of something like this is just spectacular. And I feel so privileged and so honored and so blessed that I was just accepted in your group and was able to learn so much. And this is something that I feel with art and theater, and especially something that I think Mandala is great in. These experiences are so seamless. There are so many projects, so many campaigns, whether it's coming from a big corporate or coming from the government or coming from, all sorts of establishments. They are trying to promote something like diversity. They are trying to promote empathy, understanding, whether it's for financial gain or other reasons, we don't know, but they are trying to do that. This is a big trend. And with Mandala, it happens in a natural setting. It happens at Grenoble. It happens at every single rehearsal that we do. And I remember the part when I was in Mandala 2018. And this will sound something very mundane, but the experience of just sitting in the same room and, doing our hair and makeup together and realizing that, all these little things that are coming from cultural backgrounds, that are coming from the things that we grew up with, we are all connected somehow. And we never needed to make big speeches about it or make confessions or anything. We just learned it from each other in a natural setting. So that was very meaningful to me. I was able to learn so much about what British culture can mean and all its aspects and all its colors. And same goes for European culture through Grenoble experience and everything that is attached to it these days. I think Mandala truly changed my life in that sense, that I became way more open-minded, and I became somebody who is always first asks and tries to learn and tries to understand instead of making assumptions. And that's something that I would encourage everyone to do because it's all worth it. It's just worth it.
Well, it's brilliant because, that open-mindedness and that exposure to other cultures, and that, that's why it was a joy, because the time you were in Mandala, there was you from Hungary, there was Diana from Moldova, there was Ralph from the Philippines, and then there were lots of other young people with diverse cultures who had grown up in Britain and Oxford. So, that cultural melting pot is so important. But I'm going to come
to one other thing I feel that we did a very important representation point, which is I don't think it should go unnoticed in today's climate, and I'm very proud of it.
That we represented what that diversity should be.
Exactly. Yeah.
Kasia, what are your feelings?
First of all, Mandala is my big, diverse second family. And every year, there's people that were in the company that I've been in for a few years, and then new people come in, and every year it's the same welcoming group of people. It doesn't matter if you've joined that year or if you've been there for 5 years, or if you've been working with Yasmin since you were 6 years old. Everyone comes in knowing that we're about to do something special. So I always wanted to say, thank you for Mandala being this welcoming, diverse and open-minded place that we could all express ourselves. As everyone else pretty much said, one of the biggest opportunities was going to the Rencontre in France every year. I was lucky enough to go 4 times, which is crazy. I think someone else went 5 was their amount, but I went 4. And again, with this culture exchange, I think if you've never like I've been on holiday before, and it's not the same. It's not the same as going to a place and really mixing with people from different cultures. And I think in my head I went, oh, we're going to France, there's going to be pretty much just majority wise it's going to be companies coming from around Europe. The culture is not going to be that different between places. I mean, this was my mindset before. And last year I went there, it was literally this big eye-opening experience of me being like, wow, we're all similar and we all share similar opportunities and experiences, but there are so many little things that make us who we are, and so many special stories that and ways of being that I'm learning from then, and I'm still learning from them. I still remember sitting with people in these debates that were either like done professionally and like, yeah, we're sitting down to have a debate, or just sitting as a group and with a drink in the afternoon and having a conversation about our lives and and what it's like to be where we're from. And really, this is such a crazy exchange of who we are. The second big opportunity also relates to this, was that the last 2 years I was there, the first year, well, the last 2 years, but the first time I got to assist in the dance workshop, which was crazy enough as it was. And then the second year, it was the last year I was there, but the second time I got to run the workshop myself, which was honestly, I think I'd recently turned 18, which was mad. I'm at this massive international theatre festival, and they've given me the opportunity to assist the first time, and then from there being able to run it. And you're like, wow, this is not an opportunity that many 18-year-olds would get, or many people would get, regardless of age. People might not get this opportunity until they're ever. So yeah, this really for me made me feel even more strongly that I wanted to do movement direction and go into this direction of like, I really like creating, and not always just, I love performing, but the idea that, yeah, sometimes I kind of just want to sit back and make people do what I want them to do is also crazy.
Make them do what we want.
Make them what they want to do, maybe. Yeah.
Oh, I know. I totally get it.
And yeah, I would say the chances and the people I got to meet has really led me to where I am today. I don't think that I would be sitting in my bedroom in Germany studying physical theatre if it wasn't for the people I met in Grenoble, which is 100% true. I'm here because of people I met in 5 years ago, and I wouldn't want it so much if it wasn't for the opportunities that I got through Mandala. So yeah, thank you very much for that.
Well, I mean, to me, I really hope I'm going to be able to enable us to go on more international exchanges, because we were meant to go to Ramallah in Palestine this July, and of course because of COVID-19 we couldn't. And Lewis, you were going to be part of the company, but we're definitely going to go next year. But I do worry beyond that how we fund going to Grenoble, because with the not having access to Erasmus funding because of what's gone on with Brexit, it's tricky, but we'll find a way because it's so crucial. So I'm coming to the last question for this panel discussion today, and yeah, it's reflecting about what you thinking about the world as it is today, probably what you've been thinking about with COVID-19, although we're going to talk more specifically about that in the next panel discussion. But what are the stories that you feel need to be told right at this moment? And why is theatre one of the best ways of sharing stories? So Lewis, I'm coming to you on that.
I feel like culture in general, for me, because I'm Black, I feel like Black culture needs to be told. And that's for me. But for every other culture, obviously they have their own thing that wants to be told. But definitely Black culture needs to be told, because obviously when we went to France, we were seeing how they didn't understand Black culture. So for me, I feel like that definitely needs to be told to other people. And I had a friend in secondary school who didn't know anything about Black culture, didn't know anything about slavery. And I had to sit her down and explain to her everything about it, because she just didn't know anything about it. She wasn't from this country, so she was never taught about it. So I definitely think that needs to be told. taught. And the best way to do it is theatre, because unlike like reading it from a textbook, learning about it in school, or reading about it in a book, or someone talking to you about it, seeing it and feeling it from the actors is a lot different. And when you feel the pain from the people, you understand them more. If you're just reading it, you can't really feel the pain they're going through, and you don't understand it. And if you don't understand it, then you can't really reflect on it. So theatre is definitely the best way to get people to think about not just Black culture, but just every other people's social injustice, whether that be about mental health or just anything else. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think even though, like, the fact you had to sit down and explain slavery, I mean, that is sort of taught in school, but not even in this country, not enough to say,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
where, you know, why people are here, why people from different cultures are here, because of the Commonwealth and all of that. And so, yeah, and also you've hit the nail on the head in terms of, if people feel the characters and the feelings of people of that time and of now, they're going to sort of react in a very different way. So absolutely. Ildi, your take on stories and why we need to share them. And yeah.
If we are, I'm actually, I agree with Lewis. Like, there are so many stories that needs to be told in general, and there are lacking from, you know, whether it's today's theater, whether it's today's movies. So I agree 100%. And I'm trying to answer something very specific now for which has been an exciting research project for me. I've been very privileged to work for the European Union at one point for the social lobby, and it was around women's rights. And it's a news that we often don't think about during this lockdown, but actually this lockdown affects those who are in a difficult family situation, whether it's because of family abuse, whether it's because of any sort of abusive relationship. This lockdown is a real struggle, and it's a very, very serious problem. So if I have to just give one answer, then I would say those stories also need to be told.
Absolutely. I mean, it's horrendous, the statistics that we're looking at, and we are going to talk more about lockdown soon. And I know, Alex, you know, you were sort of sharing some stuff from your family, not that it's happened to them, but that they're supporting this cause and trying to make a difference. So absolutely, Ildi, I think it's, you know, we forget about some of those things. And yeah, family relationships, the role of women within relationships, you know, they're stories that have to be told. Akasha, coming to you.
There are so many stories that are pushed into the shadows by mainstream media, that are forgotten or are put as sideline stories. So they're not emphasized and put into the limelight. They're like, oh, we'll use them, but they're not shown for what they are. But specifically today, I wanted to more speak about, for example, people being misrepresented by their outside appearance, whether that be more for me in terms of race, but that could be gender, sexuality, disability. There are so many of these things where people look at you from the outside and immediately stereotype you. And these stereotypes are so old-fashioned, they didn't belong back then, and they especially don't belong now. So it's crazy to think that, and these stereotypes happen because people aren't educated, because they don't know. And the way to educate people and to change people's mind perspectives is through the arts. I think that's one of the easiest ways for people to feel like not just being attacked when you say to someone, that's not right, that what you just said, but actually, if you show them a story, if they can empathize with it, sympathize with it, then they're able to say, I understand, without having to be like, feel that they're being attacked for being not understanding properly. For example, the other week I was in Germany. The lockdown's a little bit less severe than or at this point the lockdown's a little bit less severe than it is in England. So you can sit with one other person in a park if you want to, but with distance still. And I was sat there with a friend, and there were some guys that they were black and they were there, and they were just sitting. None of them were even sat together, but you saw the racial profiling that was happening from the police who were going around. And because they're a group of black guys, they weren't groups as in like, they weren't a big group, they were just sat around on their own. But then, and why are they being profiled in this situation? For example, we later got asked, oh, do you live together, blah, blah, blah. But it was a much calmer situation. And we were thinking about it. This probably is to do with the fact that I'm sat right now with a white person. That there's less aggression towards me because maybe also because I'm female, but I don't know. But these are all thoughts. They're not facts, I don't know. But you feel this, why do people look at someone's outside appearance and decide that they know who they are and what their business is? And yeah, I think it's really important to stop misrepresenting people.
And that's why we take stories within the company, invisible, unheard, unspoken stories, because it's time they were heard. So absolutely. Alex, last but not least, the final response in this panel discussion, coming to you.
Yeah, I think all the stories that have been mentioned by the rest of the group are so vital and really need to be told in more depth, because they're so underrepresented. And I think for me, there's an infinite number of stories that aren't being told. But for me, it's in terms of a big overarching idea. I would think that it's starting to get up, but mental health. We all have mental health. Mental health is not an issue. Mental health problems happen like everything else. As someone who has suffered from mental health problems for a long period of time, I know that the stories aren't always as accurate as people make them out to be in media. And I think just the understanding that it's a classic trope, but to remove the stigma. We always talk about it, removing the stigma of mental health, because although everyone says, oh, there's no stigma anymore, there is. And you need to be able to understand how it's a health problem. And talking about things and going to doctors and just understanding that's how it gets fixed. But people don't understand that because they don't always empathize, because they don't understand, they aren't confronted with it in a constructive way. So using things like theatre and television, film, radio, podcasts, whatever creative outlet you have, being able to share experiences and teach people and educate them about how it works and how it's the same or different for everybody, just understanding that. I think it's definitely getting a lot better. If you look at the content that's being produced by sort of production companies all over the world, it is getting better, but I think it's just making it a normality. I think that's the thing that we all want. We all want everything to be understood in a normal way.
Absolutely. No, I totally agree. And I mean, I just think if you look at the stats in terms of young people's mental health, it's, although we say it's less stigmatized, it's also so many more young people seem to be struggling. Absolutely. And actually, I have said this to you, that the next show that I do after the one that's going to go on tour will be looking at mental health. So yeah, it's crucial. But you guys, you've been absolutely brilliant. It's been wonderful that we can be on Facebook Live and Instagram Live, sharing our feelings, our thoughts, our ideas, and our passion about theatre. And next week, we're going to talk about, again, we've got the same theme, connection, creative education, and empathy, but we're going to talk much more about the immediate in a way. So what is lockdown like? We're going to talk about what you want the future to be, the future that you are going to be the leaders of, and that's next Wednesday, the 20th of May at 7:30. So thank you for joining us all. You guys, thank you so much for your insight, your inspiration, and it's so lovely for me to connect with you in this time. It's like, I just want to get you all together again.
Yes, please. Let me travel. I'll go.
Well, come, let's get you out. But I'm going to sign off now.